Our first person today is Saeks, who's conducted over 1,000 internet and direct marketing related seminars around the globe. His consulting and seminar involvement include work for Fortune 500 companies, small businesses, and associations. Let's welcome Saeks.
Thanks, Ed. Add value and make a profit. Add value and make a profit. Add value and make a profit. Add value, make a profit. We can do this all day. Everybody. Add value, make a profit. That's what we're really going to be talking about today. Not so much technology. Yes, I'm going to share with you some things on technology and the internet and regular marketing skills. But really what this is about is attracting more customers, getting more bookings, and selling more products and services. Is that what you're here for? Yes. Okay, well then you're in the right room. Now we're going to be doing three things. We're going to look at $1 million marketing system. I'm going to share with you how I look at clients' projects and how we turn them into money-making ideas, especially for speakers and information marketers. We're going to look at how to get booked. We talked about that. And I'm going to get you clear on your action steps. I'm a real focused guy on outcomes and action steps. Because all the stuff you're going to be learning is great, but if you don't go out and do anything with it, you know, you're never going to get any money. I mean, I know a lot of times you go to events and you take all those notes, and at this event, you might even be on information overload. First, we got to get the BS out of the way. I've been walking around here all weekend, and I've been listening to people say, oh, I'm really looking forward to your presentation on Sunday, but you know what? I'm not a marketer, and I don't like marketing, and marketing sucks, and I don't want to, you know, and I hear all this stuff. And the first thing I would tell you is, think about what you're saying. If you want to add value and make a profit, if you want to help people, then you're marketing. Marketing to me is just giving people enough information that they can make an informed decision. That's it. So you want to give them the information so they can make good decisions. So we want to look at our self-talk. You want to think about your associations, what things mean and what they don't mean. Your filters. You're filtering everything I'm saying right now through your history. If you had history making money online and when you were sleeping, you'd be thinking differently. Habits, you're all familiar with this stuff, their comfort zone. Your experiences, the more experiences you have, either the ones that you've learned or read in the great books or the great networking at NSA, that's where your experiences are going to come from. That's going to help you learn more. And of course, resources. I'm really big on resources. Using your resources. I was 15 years old, and I grew up in the projects. Do you know what the projects are? Okay. I had long hair, army jacket, nunchucks. I was not probably the type of kid that you wanted to cross paths with when I was younger. I was on the work program through high school, so I basically went to school for 1 hour and then I went to work. So I wasn't making a lot of money, and I was trying to figure out a way to make money other than the way everybody in my neighborhood was making money, which that's a whole other seminar. We'll talk about that later. So what I did is I took the phone book and I looked in the phone book and I was trying to think of all the businesses that I could start, some way of making money. And I came across painting, the painting section. I thought, how hard would it be to go out and start a painting company? It should be pretty easy. All the boys' camps and detention houses and things that I was in, you know, you guess what happens when you cuss? You have to paint. So I thought I figured I had some experience. So what I did is I went to my friends in shop class and I said, I tell you what, would you make me up some business cards and some brochures that say Saeks Painting and Light Construction? I put light construction because I didn't know anything about construction. Whatever it was going to be light. So I made all these cards up, and this was in the 70s. I dated myself. And I had one of these Radio Shack recorders. It was answering machines, the old reel-to-reel manual. Some of you know what I'm talking about. And what I did is I had my own apartment. I had that on the phone line with a little message that said, you know, if you're like a free quote, give me this, you know, leave your message and I'll come back and do it after work. I get home after 2 weeks of handing out flyers at grocery stores and on cars, and I get a quote, and it says, or I get a person who calls and says they'd like to have me come out and quote the job. I'm thinking, wow, great, oh, I'm all excited. And then I went, oh, crap. What am I going to do now? Have you ever done that in your business where you get all excited, you market something, and all of a sudden you sell it, and then you go, oh, now I have to deliver it. Some of you know what I'm talking about. So what I do is I figure I'm going to use my resources. Now, I don't think that at 15 years old, use my resources. I'm just a street kid. I'm thinking, okay, what can I do? So I know, well, who knows about painting? Paint stores. So I go to the paint store. Now, you got to get the vision. Army jacket, nunchucks, long hair, you know, sloppy kid, not exactly a business person. So I go into this paint store, and I go up to the manager, and I tell him, hey, would you do me a favor? I'm starting this business, and I have this job I need to go quote, and I really would like some instructions. Well, he pretty much threw me out of the store, and I came back in. I said, no, I'm serious. I really need some help. I said, and I tell you what, if you help me, I'll buy all my paint stuff from you. He's like, yeah, okay, great. So actually, he gives me a clipboard and a calculator and a pen. He gives me some instructions, and I get in my car. You guys do the math. 15, no tags, no insurance, no title. It's a whole other story. So I get in the car, 66 Chevelle, and I drive over to this house on Bryant Avenue, and I go in, and I go up to the door, and I knock on the door, and then another thing hits me. All that self-talk started hitting in. Oh, crap. What am I going to say when they open the door? I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I doing this? I'm not qualified, right? Some of you are experts in the field, but you don't want to market because you get right to that edge, and you're just like, I really don't want to tell people what I do because they might see behind the curtains and know that I'm just scared and insecure and I don't know what I'm doing. And that's what I was thinking. I don't know what you were thinking. Okay, so I knock on the door. They answer. I go in, and I walk around the room. And they say they want the windows glazed, and I write that down. No clue what glazing a window is. Then they start talking about flat paint and semi-gloss and gloss paint and quilting the walls in the kitchen, and I'm like, now I'm really over my head. You ever done that as a consultant? You're working with a project, and all of a sudden all the stuff starts stacking up, and you're like, I better do some research on this, right? So I wrote it all down, and I told them I had to go back to my office and make a quote, and then I would come back. So I get in the car, and I drive back to the paint store, go in, the gentleman tells me exactly what to do, gives me the information, and I drive back to the store, or to the house. I go in, and this time, the gentleman's wife is home. So now when I open the door, you know, they're looking at me like this, but I need a backspace just a second. When I went back to the paint, before I even went on the job, the paint manager said, you don't look like a painter. So he actually took a quart of paint off the shelf and took a brush and spackled me with paint and gave me, spackled me with paint and gave me a painter's cap. So that I actually did look a little bit like a painter when I showed up at the house. I took the army jacket off and, you know, so forth. So now I'm in the house, and the wife is like standing 2 feet behind the husband the whole time I'm walking around. And I said, here's your quote. It's $1,025 up for the job, 50% up front, and 50% on completion, which was the instructions that the guy from the paint store had given me. They took a look at me, took a look at the quote, and said, do you have any experience? Now, I didn't want to tell them where my experience had come from, and I didn't want to lie starting out a new business. So what I told them was, if you're not 100% satisfied with the job I do, you don't have to pay. So I learned at a very young age about risk reversal and guarantees and all that stuff naturally without even really thinking of, okay, what are these things going? She said, honey, write him a check. Now, I went out and sat in my 66 Chevelle with no tags, insurance, and title, and I looked at this check for $525 that they'd written me. And I was making $1.75 an hour bagging groceries at the time. And I said, wow, this is really cool. I'm going to learn how to do this. Well, that year, by the time I turned 16, got my license and my tags and insurance and the other stuff, I had 3 crews working for me, and their average age was 45 years old. Because I learned that painters like to do 2 things. They like to drink, and they like to paint. Now, if you're painters, I'm not cutting you down. I'm just telling you what I found out when I was in there. So what I did was I went back to the paint store, stood outside, and anybody from Minneapolis in here? I know David was, but I stood outside on Bryant Avenue where the paint store is, and I'm watching people come in and out of the store saying, hey, do you know how to paint? I got a job. Do you know how to paint? I've got a job. And sleeting rain finally found a crew that would go out and paint the job for me. So I gave them 70%, and I took 30%. Speakers Bureau, right? So So I gave them the 30% because they were helping me get the business, and they were helping me fulfill it, and it was perfect, and I had a job. And so I learned at a very young age about business and doing it. Now, the problem is when you take a kid from the projects and you make $35,000 your first year in sales, you spend $45,000. All right, so the class on profit and all that stuff comes next. But what I'm sharing that story with you is you're all information marketers. The business you're in is marketing. Now, I know Mike Rounds said yesterday, the business that you're in is change. You're in change, too. But I believe that you're all information marketers. So what we're going to be talking about really is information marketing. Whatever your topic is, whatever your subject is, I'm going to already assume that you're an expert in that. I don't teach platform skills. I don't teach the power of the pause. I don't teach any of that. What I show you how to do is how to make money and add value and make a profit. And that's really what we're talking about. If that sounds good, say yes. Yes. All right, let's move on.